Hello and welcome to another virtual happy hour with Clif Family Winery. I'm Brian O'Brien and I am joined by Clif Family's amazing winemaker, Laura Barrett. Laura, thank you for joining today.
Thank you for hosting again.
Absolutely. So last time we went through the September Wine Club shipment. Today we are going to go through the November Wine Club shipment. There are 4 wines in this shipment, and this one's for our Wine Venture Club. The 4 wines that we're going to be talking about are the 2021 Viognier, the 2020 Bici, that's a Rhone blend. We have the 2020 Climber, our Bordeaux blend, and our non-vintage Petite Sirah dessert wine. Let's just get things kicked off right away, Laura. Let's go into this 2021 Viognier. Now, this is an ever popular wine, but very limited quantity. Just like we talked about last time, the limited sparkling wine that we have. This one is also basically limited to Wine Club, basically only. Tell us a little bit about this 2021 Vio.
Yeah, so we have been making Viognier for a number of years, but we had we had a few vintages where it was unavailable to us because we lost our grape source. So when you're purchasing from growers, that's the risk you take. Thankfully now we have our own vineyard, the Valle de Soto vineyard in the Oaknell district, so it's certified organic, and 2021 was the very first vintage that we harvested grapes. So this is the 2021 from Valle de Soto. We now have our own source of Viognier, which will be stable, and we will make Viognier every vintage from here on out.
That's incredibly exciting. I love this wine. We talked about we called it our Oaknell vineyard last time. It's our Valle de Soto vineyard. It is, as she mentioned, located in the Oaknell district. And what's really exciting about this is we've made this wine for a really long time, but this is the first time it's really ours.
True, estate fruit.
We don't market it as estate, but it absolutely is estate wine.
Yes, yes. And what I love about this Viognier, I would say there are 2 different distinct styles of Viognier in the Napa Valley. One is a little less ripe and more fruit driven and acid driven on the palate, and the other is a little riper, a little higher alcohol, a little more viscous, more golden in color. I prefer the first style, so a little more fruit driven. You'll find this has beautiful bright acidity, really fresh fruit on the palate, and aromatics. It's jumping out of the glass this morning.
Oh wow.
And very, very pale in color.
Yes.
So similar to this color of our Sauvignon Blancs. And I think it's going to be a beautiful winter white, beautiful for your Thanksgiving table, a little bit richer and a little bit different aromatic profile than what we would consider our summer whites like Rosé and Sauvignon Blanc.
Sure.
Really fun winter wine.
Beautiful, beautiful. It's not completely dry. There is a little of that kind of fruit forwardness in there. You know, I've been drinking so much of our Root Blanc, basically our dry Sauvignon Blanc. So going to this, there is a little residual sugar, it seems. Is there a little RS in this wine?
Not a lot. Nothing that should be considered detectable on the palate. But I know what you mean as far as kind of the richness of the palate goes. I think what you're tasting is some tannin on the mid palate, for sure, and that really builds up the mid palate, and it's backed by a lot of fruit and a lot of really nice texture, and that comes from barrel aging and lees stirring. So this spends a little bit more time in barrel. It's mostly neutral oak. Occasionally I'll throw in a stainless steel barrel or 2, but it's mostly neutral oak. There's no new oak on this, so what you're feeling is a lot of lees stirring, a lot of nice tannin from the whole cluster press and kind of the skin of the Viognier grape. It gets really ripe and golden on the outside. Juice stays really bright and fresh and fruit driven. So it's a really beautiful balance.
I think it's an incredible wine. It's been one of my favorite white varietals that we've made since I've worked here back in 2018. So a very, very beautiful wine, and we have very limited quantity. I was given permission today to say, if you're watching this video and you want some Viognier, give us a call. We might be able to sell you some. Most of it went to our Wine Club consumers, but we might have some. If you want to stop by here at the tasting room, you may be able to get some, or just give us a call. We'll do whatever we can to get you any bottles that we have left. So again, 2021 Viognier, spectacular white. Okay, let's get into the next wine. The next wine is one of my favorite wines that we make every year. My opinion, probably our most food-friendly red wine, in my opinion, our 2020 Bici Red, which is a Rhone blend. Now, I believe that, so the way that I talk about this wine is, you know, you have the Rhone, the traditional GSMs, Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvedre blends, but we don't add Mourvedre to this. This is about 2/3 Grenache to 1/3 Syrah. Tell us about the 2020 vintage.
Yeah, so this wine, my goal with this wine is always to smell like Syrah and taste like Grenache, right? So I want the Syrah, I want both of them to be harvested fairly early, and we choose grower partners that are in a little bit of a cooler region. The Syrah comes from Carneros, so I want it to be peppery, spicy, meaty. I think this morning I'm getting a lot of this meatiness on the nose.
A little peppery on the nose too.
Yeah, a little peppery, but then I want to follow that with a really refreshing palate that's a little on the lighter side for red wine. I don't want a big over-extracted, overripe Syrah type palate. I want it to be a little more balanced, a little more delicate, and refreshing acidity so that you get that freshness and it stays a little light and lifted. The Grenache comes from Yountville, and it's a certified organic vineyard. I pick it between kind of 24, 25 bricks, which is on the less ripe scale of Grenache as a whole. And this is mostly neutral French oak. There's not a whole lot of new oak in this wine. Again, it's bottled under our Adventure series, so it has the screw cap and the photographic label on the front. Meant to take with you on your next adventure, whether that's a picnic or a movie theater or a bike ride, and made and designed to drink now. It's not a wine that we intend for you to cellar and age. It's really something to enjoy now, and it can be your weeknight wine. These are value wines. These are affordable and meant to over-deliver with quality. This
is absolutely my weeknight wine right now. And you mentioned the Adventure Series. We have 3 wines in our Adventure Series. 2 are featured here today. Our Bici Red blend, our Climber Bordeaux blend, and our New Zealand style Sauv Blanc. So I was thinking this morning, we call them Adventure Series, but they're really like our international Adventure Series, right? Because they're all Napa grapes done in kind of international styles, and I think that's really, really awesome. And the fact that they're screw tops, I think the industry as a whole is changing, and we are accepting screw tops as fine wine, whereas in the past people have kind of thumbed their nose to the screw tops. We're moving as an industry in a whole into the screw tops. We just don't know how red really, those really deep, bold red wines are going to age long term in screw tops. For all indications are pointing that it's going to be just fine, but we don't know because the science isn't there. But this Bici, my favorite weekday wine, my opinion, the most food friendly red wine that we make here at Clif Family, just a perfect balance of kind of that light Grenache with that little bit more peppery of the Syrah. So I think it's a wonderful blend.
This is also a great Thanksgiving wine. The timing is perfect for the release. These two, the Viognier and the Bici together, could serve as wine pairings for almost everything that's going to be on your Thanksgiving dinner table.
Absolutely. In fact, I use the dessert wine to make my cranberry sauce. So there you go.
Yeah. I love that.
And I drink all 3 while cooking, of course. Okay, that was our 2020 Bici Red blend. Let's get into our bigger Adventure Series, International Adventure Series wine, our Climber Bordeaux blend. This is our 2020 vintage, and this has always been a very cab dominant wine, and I believe this one is probably the most cab dominant vintage of this wine that we've made.
It is. This wine, the goal is to make a Bordeaux style blend. There's no recipe for the varietal percentages that we're trying to achieve. We want it to be a delicious Bordeaux style blend. Again, over deliver for the price point of the wine. And last year, 2019, it was all 5 Bordeaux varietals. This year it is 100% Cabernet. Just the nature of the vintage, what's available. I remember back in 2015, it was actually 97% Merlot. So it shifts and changes over the years, and it's really about how it tastes. And I want it to be a big wine with great tannin structure and great color, but I don't want it to require a lot of time in the bottle. This should taste great right out of the gates. And I think this vintage is a great example of that. One that we hope that you'll enjoy kind of on a regular basis, midweek. It doesn't have to be something that you save for your next steak dinner.
Sure.
But something that you can enjoy during the week. I always call it, like, pizza wine is such a great term.
Lasagna wine, something like that. No, it makes total sense, and it is deep, it is dark, but it's not overwhelming with tannins. The tannins are clearly there, but it's not It's not an overwhelming. It's incredibly well balanced. That's really how I universally describe your winemaking is balance. You know, it's never really pulling you one way or the other. The dark black fruit flavors are absolutely there. So a good amount of tannins, but not overwhelming. Pizza, lasagna. I mean, a grilled steak. Obviously, I would enjoy. It's red wine season, so this one. But
it's a little lighter on the mid palate and on the finish, so it's not. There's definitely a lot of tannin presence, but it kind of dissipates in its broad tannin, and there's not a huge amount of new oak here as well. So I think that the time in barrel is really integrated and it's balanced and a really refreshing, fun, easygoing cab.
Now this wine we have not yet released. Wine Club gets it, but we're going to be releasing this to general consumers in early 2023. We still have plenty of our 2019 vintage though, and it's also spectacular. As Laura mentioned, all 5 Bordeaux varietals in the 2019. That's Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Malbec, Petit Verdot, and Cab Franc, if you were wondering. So that's our 2020 climber. We're going to have this probably all year in 2023. We still have some of the 2019 vintage left, which is also drinking spectacular. So if you want some, 2020 vintage comes out next year, but if you want the 2019, we got plenty of that still available. All right, Laura, we're gonna round out with something a little sweet. We do every year, we do a non-vintage Petite Sirah dessert wine, and this is just that. Tell us about this newest dessert wine.
So when I came on board at Clif Family in 2014, they had a port program in place, or a port style wine. And the previous winemaker had made the 14, and then I made port style wine in 15, 16, and 17. And then we continue to age that wine, and we blend it, those 4 vintages together. And we bottle about 100 cases each year. And so this one is primarily 16 and 17 with just a tiny bit of 2015. These wines are made to be very sweet. This is 75 grams per liter of residual sugar, which is a lot of residual sugar, so it tastes very sweet. And it's fortified with neutral spirits. So that means that I take a neutral spirit and I arrest the fermentation at that sugar level that I want it to remain at. It kills the yeast, the alcohol, and then we continue to age it in barrel for up to 6 years, really. Even as time goes on more and more, and as the wine ages, you get a little bit of that aldehydic character. It gets a little bit nutty. Yeah. The wine is delicious, and this is pairing beautifully with our chocolate budino. One of my favorite pairings that we do here at the tasting room and in the Enoteca. So this has become a really fun dessert wine for us to finish the meal.
It's delicious. Yesterday we just did a library tasting. Laura came and our culinary team kind of flexed their muscles, and as Laura mentioned, we finished with the Bodino, and we paired with this Petite Sirah dessert wine. The Bodino had sourdough crumbles and some extra virgin olive oil on it. Absolutely spectacular. Perfectly paired with this. As I kind of alluded to earlier, I also cook with this wine a little bit, not all the time, but during Thanksgiving specifically. I have a recipe where I use a little bit of port wine in my fresh cranberry sauce, and I make it every year, and it's a family favorite. So I use about 1/4 cup of this in the recipe, and I drink the rest of the bottle as I'm cooking because it's Thanksgiving. Why not? But my family really enjoy it, and we always have some kind of a dessert with Thanksgiving. I love a good berry cobbler, and this goes great with that.
Great suggestions. I love it. Good. Cheers.
Cheers to the 2022 November Wine Club shipment. If you or anybody that you know want to join a wine club, just give us a call. We'd be happy to sign you up. These again are the November shipment wines. There are 4 shipments with our Wine Venture Club per year. We also have a number of other clubs, our Club Peloton, our Chima Club. We have a number of them. We basically have a club for everybody. So thank you all for watching. I'm Brian O'Brien. This is Laura Barrett. We appreciate your time, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.